Last week, we continued our journey south, ending in Potts Lagoon and spotting some wildlife along the way. I'm Taryn, this is Logan, and this is Max. Join us as we live and sail in the Pacific Northwest on our 40-foot steel sailboat.
So we're just leaving Potts Lagoon, heading down Baronet and south. So fortunately it's kind of foggy this morning, which reminds me our nap lights aren't on. It's kind of foggy. The wind hasn't really died down like it would have been nice to, so we're gonna see how far we get today.
So where are we heading from Baronet?
Down Johnstone Strait.
So we're not quite sure where we're gonna end up today. We're heading down Johnstone Strait, which has a gale weather warning in effect for this afternoon. And that's supposed to kick up early afternoon. So depending on what the weather does, we will either get all the way to another channel to go up on the way to Greenpoint Rapids, or we'll end up in Port Harvey, or we'll end up going back up Baronet Passage, which we're just about to go down. So yeah, a lot of questions today. Like, the boat would be fine in that weather, but we are just so not experienced with heavier winds that we're pretty nervous about it, I think, but it'll be fine. There's options, so we'll just figure it out as we go along, I guess. Despite having spent a good amount of time attempting to head down Baronet Passage with favorable current, we ended up motoring into at least 2 knots. We still are not sure which way the current runs here, or at what times. It's very confusing. At the mouth of the passage, we found a couple of humpbacks who were hunting. The waters at the entrance to Baronet were turbulent due to converging currents from 3 different bodies of water, but once we got into the strait, the water was calm and beautiful. We entered the strait with 3 knots of current with us and about 10 knots of wind behind us, feeling pretty good about our conditions. But despite the beautiful conditions here, we had friends further down the strait who were reporting much worse weather conditions than had been predicted, which had put them in a very dangerous position. Well, it took us an hour and a half to get down Baronet Passage instead of half an hour because we timed the currents wrong. We thought we timed them right. Obviously we hadn't. So we were about an hour behind when we finally got out into the strait here. We've got, let's say, 15-ish knots with us, maybe. Somewhere between 10 and 15 knots are the currents building with us, and the wind speed is slowly picking up. So we're making decent headway. We're doing about 5.7 knots. We should be able to make it to Port Harvey tonight. Not further, we'll see. We'll see by the time we get to Port Harvey what it's looking like, but apparently down further it's already fairly nasty today, so we'll probably wait till tomorrow to do that little stretch instead, but we'll see. It's supposed to be, the winds tomorrow are supposed to be less intense, so Fingers crossed that report holds. It gusts. Well, we are heading into Port Harvey because the winds are starting to pick up, and a couple of Instagram friends of ours on the Instagram West Caper sent us a message and letting us know that they are deeper into Johnstone Strait and it is absolutely miserable, and they said they would have turned around if they could have. So we decided to heed that warning, as well as the Weather Canada warning saying that it's blowing 20 to 30 down there. And we are just on a beam reach heading into Port Harvey instead. So we actually got the head sail up and we were sailing wing on wing for a while there. It was awesome. Definitely stabilized the boat better. We didn't have very much wind though. We were making pretty slow progress. So we're gonna head into Port Harvey, drop the anchor for the night, hang out, and tomorrow is supposed to be better for wind, so we'll try to head out tomorrow and make our way down to I don't know where. Through the rest of Johnstone Strait anyway. As we turned east to head into Port Harvey, the wind picked up and we were hit with gusts about 10 to 15 knots higher than the sustained wind, which only made us feel better about our decision to duck out of the weather.
Good gust, eh? Yeah, we're doing like 7.5 knots.
Whoa! Yeah, that was a good one. Well, we've made it to the Port Harvey area and we've anchored now. It's only about noon, but actually we've been out on the water for like almost 6 hours, 5.5 hours. So not too bad of a day. Yeah, so we made the decision to stop here right before the gusts got crazy, and then we turned in here, and as we turned in here the gusts picked up to like 15 knots above what the sustained wind was. So we're pretty happy with our decision. There's a little bit of swell coming in from Johnstone Strait where we are right now, where we're anchored, but it's not a ton, and we're pretty protected from the wind. It seems we're getting a little bit of the gusts, but not much. Not enough for us to worry about it. So yeah, it's beautiful here. There's like a little beach over there, and we're not worried about getting stuck in a gale in the strait. So hopefully tomorrow is better luck for us with weather. What do you think, Max? Are you happy to be at anchor instead of out on the water? Yeah. What about you, Logan? Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, not quite as far as I'd like to have made it, but it's a new place and I'm glad we got to come in to check it out, see what's going on. And there's still people out there sailing by and it doesn't look awful, but when you turn the next corner and there's that long stretch with nowhere to really get out of, I think that's where everybody's having problems today. I heard on the radio a couple of times boats were not having a good time with the waves coming over the bow and stuff like that, so I think it was the right choice.
So let's talk about Johnstone Strait for a minute, and why we were so sketched out about heading further down south with 25 plus knots of wind. If you talk to people who have been traveling these waters for years, most of them will have a story about getting caught in some sketchy conditions, usually when they least expected it. There are stories of people sailing nicely down the strait with 15 knots of wind and being knocked down by 40 knot gusts that come from a completely different direction, and that is not uncommon. The strait has currents up to 6 knots on the regular, and when you have that with big winds, converging water from numerous inlets and steep mountains, all as the strait narrows, you have a recipe for some potentially terrifying waters. Alright, so after a night of not sleeping due to stress thinking about heading into gale force winds in order to get through Johnstone Strait, we are motoring out in the middle of this current. So it's running 3 knots already. We didn't get going early enough this morning because we didn't sleep last night, and then the forecast was still saying 20 to 30 knots and we weren't trying to do that, but now it's saying 15 to 20. So far it's completely dead out there. So we're gonna try to get as far as we can today and then tuck in somewhere for the night and try to do the rest tomorrow before winds get back to gale force. Farther today the better, so fingers crossed and wish us luck.
Yeah, I'm kind of kicking myself for not getting up earlier and getting going, but we were up since 2 o'clock. We got hit by some pretty good gusts and the current switched in the little bay that we were in. So we flipped around and the anchor alarm went off. And the swell coming in and the wind coming into that bay from 2 different directions it was just pretty uncomfortable. It's kind of a tight little bay, so I wish we'd gotten going earlier, but you know, mistakes happen when you're tired, so it was nice to sleep in a little bit as well.
What else is special about today, Logan?
It was supposed to be gale force and it's not.
Something else?
It's my birthday.
It's your birthday!
It is.
Is this a good way to spend your birthday?
Well, it could be worse. No, it's pretty good. I'm glad that we're not just sitting on anchor though.
Yeah, stressing out about tomorrow.
Yeah, we're getting low on dog food. So we actually have to get back to civilization at some point. I guess, well, we have some fish. We could feed them rice and fish, but we don't even eat that good.
How's it going, Logie?
It's going good. We're flying along. I can see how this can be such a sketchy bit of water though. I mean, we probably got 15 knots of wind right now. It's only supposed to go up to what, 20 today or 25?
25.
It's supposed to go up to 25 today, so hopefully we get out of it before then. We've got an hour left to go to our planned anchorage. And it blew up pretty much out of nowhere, like within 10 minutes. And we are so fortunate we timed this to have wind and current in the same direction. So as soon as the current switches, it is not going to be nice out here. Dolphins just jumped right in front of us. Here, right here. 2 dolphins just jumped. I think they were dolphins. They jumped like out of the water, both together, and like went into our bow wave, like from the side.
I missed it.
And then they came up and circled and did a couple of circles right here under the water, like right beside our boat, looking at us.
So cool.
That was so cool. I got goosebumps. I thought we were totally gonna like T-bone them.
Yeah, I thought we were about to run into something.
Holy f***.
As we neared Helmken Island, we thought we were going to have difficulty getting into our anchorage because of the strength of the current. But as we neared the island, the current died down to almost nothing, and we were able to safely navigate into our anchorage. The weather stayed beautiful and calm the entire time we were in Billy Goat Bay on Helmken Island. The bay we anchored in was very rocky and full of kelp, but we managed to anchor in a spot that was good mud holding and no kelp in the immediate vicinity. Once anchored safely, we decided to head out on a dinghy adventure to go meet some of the neighbors. Listen to that echo. Join us next week as we lose our steering just feet from shore while fishing.
Steering broke. Put it in reverse.
While making our way down to the Salish Sea. Thanks so much for hanging out with us and subscribing, liking, and commenting. If you want to catch up with us in real time, so this is the 4th time we've scheduled this move, you can do so over on our Patreon for as little as $1 a month.